Hi, okay, so I'm going to talk to you in this video about some questions for you to think about as you're reading the Bratman paper for this week. Um, some of the stuff here probably won't make too much sense until next week. So the way I've carved things up week by week is we're going to start on this week focusing on a binary sort of notion of belief, right? Something all or nothing, on or off. And next week, we're going to start looking at degreed notions of belief, where you might, have different levels of confidence on a spectrum from 0 to 1, where 0 is being fully confident that the thing is false, and 1 is being fully confident that it's true, and maybe a half, 0.5, is being equally confident of either way, or equally unconfident of the truth or the falsity of the proposition in question. Now, this paper, the Bratman paper, I've assigned for this week because it gives you a sort of fairly explicit way of thinking about belief of the binary sort. But you will find along the way he's going to do some talking about a degreed kind of thing. You'll see him in particular talking about taking bets at various kinds of odds. If that makes sense to you, great. If that doesn't make sense to you, I'm going to say just hold on to that until next week. We can come back and talk about that some more. But the vague idea is if we do think of belief in a degreed kind of way, if we're thinking about degrees of confidence, one way of, if you like, measuring, this is the language that the Ramsey paper next week is going to use, measuring the strength of somebody's belief. You might think a way of measuring it is saying, what kind of odds would somebody accept in a bet on whether that thing is true, right? So if you bet me if you offer me a bet at odds of 2 to 1 that it's going to continue being sunny tomorrow, it's sunny right now. Let's say something that costs me £2 if it's not sunny tomorrow, but I win £1 if it is sunny tomorrow. I'm not going to take that bet. Right? I think there's some chance that it will be sunny tomorrow, but not at odds of 2 to 1, where I stand to lose twice as much if I'm wrong about it being sunny, if it isn't sunny, than I would gain if it is sunny. But that doesn't mean you can't get me to take a bet at any odds, right? If you say, here's a bet I'll offer you, Roger, why don't you bet that it'll be sunny again tomorrow? At the following odds. If it's not sunny, you'll lose £1. But if it is sunny, you'll win £100. I think there's, about maybe instead of 1 to 100, I should say 1 to 99. There's about a 1%. There's at least a 1% chance it'll be sunny again tomorrow. So, I could win a lot of money if that's true. And if it's not true, if it isn't sunny tomorrow, well, I don't lose that much. So, yeah, I'll go with it. And we found one set of odds where I would take the bet and another set of odds where I wouldn't. And maybe we can sort of adjust and find, maybe there's a point where I sort of say, I'm not sure if I would take that bet. Maybe, and maybe that point is what measures how strong my commitment is. Okay, so when Bratman's talking about betting odds, that's the kind of picture of belief, vaguely speaking, that he's got in mind. Next week we'll be more careful about this when we read Ramsey. But let me just show you a couple of points where I'd like you to pay attention and maybe sort of think about any opinions you might have. We'll start here, this opening section. He talks a bit about belief as the sort of attitude that plugs into deliberation, intention, making plans, that kind of thing. Take a look there. In section 2, he starts more explicitly characterizing what he thinks of how he thinks of belief, how he conceives of belief. And I want to draw your attention to, he gives you these 1, 2, 3, 4 postulates about belief. And he says, here are things that just seem to be true about belief that sort of are, as he says here, part and parcel of our ordinary conception of belief. So I'd like you to focus on those and think about whether that strikes you as correct, whether that fits with your notion of what it is to believe something, to think that something is true. As the paper goes on, he's going to argue for something, for there being something like belief, but that's different from belief, in particular because it doesn't satisfy those four conditions. So he's going to say, just as we have a conception of belief, we might also have something sort of beliefy. Let's call it acceptance. It's like belief, but it's different. And he's going to motivate the existence of this thing by giving you a whole bunch of different kinds of cases, different kinds of examples, numbered cases here, where he says, look, here's something that seems recognizable, seems ordinary, but we wouldn't say that you believe the thing in question, that you're relying on a belief in the sense of something that satisfies those four principles in this kind of case. So we should say that there's some notion of acceptance that's different from belief in those sorts of cases. So I'd like you to, if you get a chance, take a look at those cases, try and think about whether you agree with Bratman's description of those cases, whether they make sense to you as cases where somebody would indeed accept something in a context for a reason. That's the sort of way he talks about acceptance there. Whether you would agree with him that the people in the case don't have a belief in those sorts of situations. Maybe even think about whether considering these sorts of examples, these sorts of cases, makes you want to revisit or revise your opinion about those principles themselves. You might want to say, well, this looks like a case of belief, but it violates some of those principles. So Bratman wants you to say, so it's not a belief, it's something else. Maybe you want to say, maybe I was wrong about what belief requires. Yeah, that's as much as I want to say in advance. Give it a read. If you have any questions, feel free to save them for Friday if you like, or feel free to post them on the discussion board in advance or afterwards, or send me email, whatever you like. Yeah, that's all I want to say for now. Talk to you on Friday.